All right, who wants to start with Redfall?
Oh,
boy.
Oh boy.
I can
Okay.
I can
Yeah.
go. Um,
Go on.
I did a preview for it a while back. Like I played a preview in like March or something,
Mhm.
and I was like, "This seems, you only play it for like an hour, hour and a half." I was like, "This seems like okay. Like, there's got to be more though." That was my thing. I was like,
Yeah.
"There's got to be something here. Like something is missing." And then when I played the final game, I'm like, "Oh, this is the whole game. Oh no." My biggest issue is that it's kind of not very fun.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are rightfully concerned about the poor state and the glitches and the bugs and everything like that, but that stuff can get fixed. And ultimately, for me, it's like the fun factor element is not there, and that's what I like come here for. I it also was just a bummer because Arcane, big fan.
Mm.
Mhm.
But I, it didn't click with me with this one. It's just like it feels like there is something missing, like from like a reward feedback
Mhm.
level. I mean, maybe it's just like the lack of engagement with enemies, the skill tree that I didn't really find very enticing by any means.
Mm.
With some things that like you don't want to unlock because they
Yeah.
significantly change things in bad ways. Like what the
Yes.
so there's a lot of things
What?
that it's like it feels like weren't really thought out, and
Mhm.
it kind of felt like as a player, like my time was kind of being wasted. And I never usually have this attitude, but I kind of felt like as I was playing, well, I'm like, well, like if you're not gonna care, then like why should I? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
to piggyback off
mm,
your point about, time being wasted and things not feeling fulfilling, I'm a huge Arcane fan. And I went to the same preview event as you, and I came out of it thinking, like, oh, okay, it's them trying something new. I felt the same. I thought there's gotta be something else. There has to be a reason why they started us an hour or so into the game. There's gotta be a reason why we didn't see that opening. Turns out it's just because the opening's pretty boring.
yeah, there is
So
no opening.
Yeah.
there isn't
You
really an
just
opening.
suddenly appear, on a boat.
Yeah, and so when I was playing it, and the thing about playing video games is I can forgive a lot of foibles, right? There are things that even in Dishonored 2, which is one of my favorite games of all time, that I don't particularly like, but I forgive because the rest of it, the whole experience is so good. The thing with Redfall is that it had a really bad first impression, or even worse than that, it had a nothing of a first impression. There wasn't a splash. There wasn't really anything enticing to get me into it. And then all of the things that usually would be annoying that I would forgive, I just couldn't because there wasn't enough good feedback to drown out like the negative stuff that I was experiencing. So for me, when you're implementing games as a service style things like a weapon tier system, for example, well, it's not good because you can only carry 3 guns, and there's a certain enemy that can only get killed if you have a UV gun that isn't really
Yeah.
actually good enough to carry around the whole time, but you can't create a loadout. So every time you come across one of those stupid little stone guys, you have to go in, manually swap the weapon out, and then go back in. That's frustrating. That's annoying. End of every mission, having to go back to the safe house. Annoying. I get what you're doing. You're doing the Destiny thing of wanting to come back into orbit and reevaluate and do stuff. But when you're in this open world, which is empty as fuck,
Yeah.
it's frustrating as hell. Like, I don't want to go all the way back because I know that I'm just going to warp back to a safe house that's closer. That's probably where I am right now because I can just resupply there, or I can resupply just by looting a bunch of stuff. Like AI is pretty dumb in Dishonored. But I love that because that is a stealth game, and I want to be the person who's outsmarting the AI. It's part of the push and pull of those games is getting one over, using my smarts to overcome them. In this, they are so stupid that I was like, this isn't even fun. This doesn't even feel fair.
Yeah.
And then, you
Yeah.
get the story, which isn't really hitting for me at all. There are some cool things in there. The stuff
Yeah.
with the daughter for the Hollow Man and
Yeah.
everything.
There's some
But
cool lore like in
cool
there
lore.
somewhere.
There is.
But ultimately, it's just like, oh, I mean, Ralph, you and I were talking. I wish I had the screen grab of it where I was talking to Ralph, and he was like 10 hours in. I was about 6 or 7, and I said, "Oh, I'm just about to take on the Hollow Man." And Ralph goes, "Is that the first boss? Oh no, is that the last boss?" And
That's
I just,
right.
and yeah, you said, is that the
Right.
last boss? And I just went, oh, mate, mate, he's the first of at least 4. And just Ralph, no. Discourse.
At that point, I was so done with the game. I was like, please
Defeated.
let that be it. No, because I,
Yeah.
I was on the first map and I didn't know that there was a second map. And I was so over the game by that point. When you told me that there were like 4 more bosses or something plus a second map, I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
please no more. I can't handle this. And then eventually I just didn't end up finishing the game because, as I said in my review, I'm like, well, if a developer can't be bothered to finish their game, then why the fuck should I? Do you know what I mean? But so, yeah, I mean, look, did you play it, by the way, Gerard? Right.
No,
smart
I
man.
was pretty convinced by everyone saying not to play it. That
Sure.
there's just some games where everyone is just so loud that you just have to go. Yeah, sometimes my optimism just isn't gonna change my mind in that way. Because I am that guy that would go in and be like, you know what, guys, hear me out. Redfall's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
But I think I watched enough people play it. I watched enough people talk about it, the discourse around it. I even considered, I don't do it very often, but on my channel, I sometimes will purposely play games that are a blunder just to really see what it's like for a completionist to experience. And I don't know. I felt like I did not have enough in me to want to try to play the game to see if I can contribute to the conversation that everyone else is saying. If everyone is saying the same 8 to 12 things that are wrong with it, chances are I'm going to probably be saying the same things. And I don't know. I felt like by the time I finally got around to, really getting a chance to play it, I just was like, I think I'll just wait for Tears of the Kingdom and get ready to submit all of my free time to that very soon.
Oh man, you could have been like me and still get yelled at just because like there are like some good ideas or like rough things deep in the game that like I couldn't help but like point out and like
what though? Like what are you finding?
So I just
good?
like the idea, the whole like Salem's Lot, New England town thing. I think like there is parts of a good town in there.
Sure.
I also thought that like the vampires and the vampires created by science is cool. I think a lot of the types and concepts of vampires are cool. When it comes down to the actual encounters of them and the way it plays, no. But like stuff like that, I like there may be somewhere something. I have a question for you guys though. Because my first impression of the game was like, oh, it's great that you can play it single player, but it seems like a lot of these abilities are better with other people. Did you guys feel that or see that through playing the full game? Like, were you bored with your character's abilities? Really?
Oh,
on
absolutely.
your own? Okay.
No, there's no question at all that these characters should not have been designed that way. They, if you'd have combined all character kits into one character, you would have had an actual character at that point. But what they essentially did was, take one character's worth of abilities and then divide them up into 4 people, and such that like the kits just don't work on their own at all. Like the stealth character, for example, he has a raven that can mark targets and later on can also damage them, which is very contradictory. And it also can turn invisible. And he's got like a sniper rifle that he can pull out as like his ultimate or whatever. That's his whole kit. That's all he's got. It's so boring. It's like, what is going on here? And the skill trees don't do anything to augment that either. So clearly they had envisaged that you would be playing this game co-op and leveraging all of those abilities together. But I wouldn't want my friends to play this. I usually play co-op games with some guys that I play Destiny with, and as I was playing it, I'm like, nah, man, I can't inflict this on them. Like I can't ask them to come and play this. No, I'm not going to do that. So I didn't. I haven't played a single second of it co-op because
if the team at Arcane wants to see this game the way that they want to see it, then I want to see it. If they have just been so defeated and they see the conversations and they see the talking points and they see everyone just shitting all over them and it deflates their motivation, then like don't put them through that hell. Let them decide whether or not they want to finish the game. And let the L's hit the floor and we move on. But
The L's hit the floor.
The L's
I mean,
What the fuck? That is so awesome. It's like
L's
this
hit the
serious
floor.
somber moment, and then you're like, let the L's hit the floor.
I was being dead serious. The fact you guys are laughing, I'll
I
take
love
it.
that.
No, I'm sorry.
What an
Your
incredible
point
phrase.
is
Your point is 100%
you're-
correct. It was just that phrase that really like I was like,
Incredible phrase.
That's the voice clip for you. But look, I think a lot of us were like, Cyberpunk's not gonna get better. Cyberpunk is DOA. It's gonna be
No.
better.
But Cyberpunk had, it had 9 out of 10s at the time. There was still Cyberpunk was this wave, like it was inescapable. There was no way, and they CDPR have this track record of supporting stuff. Like Witcher 3 was, I mean, at launch, come on, it was not the game that we remember as The
Of
Witcher 3.
course,
That
no,
came
absolutely
later,
not.
and so I don't think I don't think that audience is there for Redfall as much as it pains me to say it. Like I was on the VGC podcast and they were saying that Arcane makes games that game journalists like, but that the regular audience doesn't buy. And I was like, "Fuck
Sure.
you!" Okay.
Sure.
jeez.
So
I think my point just kind of was that I don't think any game isn't redeemable. I think anyone can come back if we have things like No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. Obviously Anthem was just it kind of immediately it was gone, but I think
Yes,
there's room. I think there's room for
Sure.
and whether or not they rechange the entire game or if they just do their bare minimum processes, I say let them give them a shot if they want to. If they don't want to, like I said, let the L's hit the floor.